All right, welcome to the podcast. On today's show with Aaron from Brami. Thanks for joining. For people who don't know, what does your company do?
Well, the original seed of Brami was that I spent a quarter of my life in Italy eating amazingly delicious food that was very healthy, and I didn't have to choose between delicious and healthy, and had a different experience often with food in America, and certainly Americanized Italian food. And so really what Brami's trying to do is bridge the gap between having to choose between delicious and healthy in Italian food, and allow people, even for just 5-10 minutes a day, live that life that I lived in Italy, where food was just delicious and good for you.
Yeah.
And we're focused on pantry staples that are functional and convenient, but made with whole ingredients and true to the highest Italian standards of food.
Give me a bit of the journey. And so you're in Italy, you're eating well. It's amazing there. It's crazy. Even some people who are gluten-free will go there and all of a sudden be able to eat pasta, which goes to show you just kind of some of the things we put into the food system that aren't necessarily gluten-filled, but more so like the chemicals that are giving people a reaction. But when you came back, did you know the science yet, or were you just sort of meandering through like, okay, in Italy, the same dish or the same look-alike dish, I feel great after, and here, not so good? What was the journey for you?
I mean, I knew it instinctually just because I lived it. Like, I knew, I was eating food that was from my grandmother's garden. But even if it wasn't, it was like from the farm next door. Or even if it wasn't, you could just like taste the quality of the ingredient. And so being part of the Italian culture, there's just an appreciation for how things are done and the way they're done and the quality of things always.
Yeah.
Like the market there doesn't accept low quality. And that was evident to me, because then I would, I would see ingredients label and experience the quality of food here and feel different. So it was just very evident to me from a really early age. I mean, I had the original seed of Brami was, I might have been 8 years old. I was thinking like, I have to like package up this magic that I'm experiencing here and bring it back with me, because I knew that it was magic and that I was experiencing it there and not here. So that was the original seed of Brami. But then Lupini beans I discovered on my own. My parents used to let me roam like the towns of Italy by myself as a kid. I was an only child. I used to explore, and I somehow discovered them on my own.
Okay.
And it was like this secret passion of mine where I would like buy a bag and sit under a tree and just like snack on them. And, this very like solitary but magical existence I had in Italy. And then when I brought my wife to Italy for the first time, I introduced them to her. And she was like, oh my God, it's like an Italian edamame. Like, how have I not heard of this?
Yeah.
And I had never thought about it that way. And so then that's what sparked me doing research into food and ingredients and all this. So I did learn a lot more after. Yeah. But I really lived the feeling of good food.
And of all what were you doing at the time? And so you're working in what's the field of work you're in at the time?
I went from corporate insurance consulting to the risk management software to venture capital, and really trying to find my way. Yeah. And it's funny, like I basically came back to my origin, which was, to allow people to feel the way that I felt growing up, which I had always wanted to do since I was a kid, and do something that was, positive, but also inspiring to myself. Sure. And so this sort of aha moment when we discovered how nutritionally off the charts Lupini beans were, allowed me to check so many of those boxes that I had been wanting to check but hadn't been able to.
It's really interesting to me when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's like we're all solving the problem that our 8-year-old or 12-year-old self had. And the difference is at the time, we just have passion. We don't have acumen. We don't speak business. We don't speak accounting. We don't speak venture. But you acquire those skills in an effort to then go back to the passion or the expression so that you can meander your way through and have temporary expression in the world through the product or the problem that you want to solve. It's really interesting the way all that happens. And so what was your first step? And so you're with your wife. She's like, oh my God, Italian edamame, this is so good. How come this doesn't exist? And then I'm sure light bulbs are going off for you, but then the jump of like creating a company, what was that process, or was it even a company? Was it just like, let's just start small, give it to our friends, and it'll be a fun little project for us?
Well, I mean, her sort of comment about it being an Italian edamame, and then she immediately had the idea of, what if we made this like an accessible, ready-to-eat, shelf-stable flavored snack? So you had a really healthy alternative to the usual processed snacks. And so the idea was like there right away.
Okay.
But the idea sort of made us do the research, and then the research was what then told us, oh my God, this might be really interesting, because, obviously at the time, kale had come into favor, and kombucha was coming in, and chia seeds, and it seemed like super, these long
What year was this?
This was 2014.
Okay.
Superfoods were coming to market. They had always existed, but America was coming to understand, and
quinoa all of a sudden.
Yeah,
everybody
all
knew
of
all
those.
the things, the super grains. Yeah.
Yeah, and yet we came across a bean that has the highest density of protein and fiber of any crop grown on the planet, and nobody was talking about it.
That's crazy.
So we were like, okay, this is exciting. This is interesting. I brought a pack back with me to the VC that I was working at the time, and one of the founding partners just like crushed the bag in front of me, and was like, and it was plant protein was really big.
Crushed
back then.
meaning ate the whole thing.
Yeah,
got it.
just
okay.
like.
Yeah, didn't put it down.
Didn't even say a word, was just like eating the whole bag.
And you're like, that's my pitch.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was very fortunate to like already be in there, and they incubated me, which was very necessary, because it was,
Wow.
It's not like doing a new bar or a new cookie or a new cracker, which obviously has its challenges too, but there's already existing
There's a market.
Supply chains. We were creating a category from nothing, doing a manufacturing that didn't exist before with an ingredient nobody's ever heard before, and so I think I probably would have struggled even to do a friends and family, because it was just like too.
Yeah, it's too out of the norm.
It was too much of a moonshot at the time.
That's crazy. And at what point do you launch? And then, like, how do you launch the product? Because at some point, it's like, if you're going to do it in a grocery store, tough. I can see the demos going well, but probably the buyers don't know what this is. And so they're looking at you like, why would anybody buy this? The demos did go really
well, but and we did have a ground game in New York City. I mean, I was store to store. Interestingly, a lot of the Brooklyn grocery stores are run by Middle Easterners, and they know the beans, because the beans exist in all the former Roman Empire area, including the Middle East. But I was going store to store, doing demos, just like doing the ground game. But very early on, we went to Expo West, and basically right after our first production run, which was probably, in retrospect, like it was too early. But it was back when Expo West, I think, was, had even more buyers really looking for stuff. I mean, it still does, of course, but we got picked up by like 4 regions of Whole Foods and Wegmans like right away.
Just from the
Expo. Yeah.
That's sick.
Because it was it checked all of the boxes of what people were looking for. Like at the time, without even commenting on these boxes, it just was checking, gluten-free, whole food,
the protein piece,
plant protein,
low carb,
fiber, low carb. It just was checking all of the boxes, and it was super unique. But coming from Italy, which is like famously a culture of cuisine, so I think it was just a very interesting product. In retrospect, we weren't ready for all that. Again, we're the first ones to do like flavored pickled veggies in a shelf-stable pouch, and that's not like an easy thing to plug into a supply chain. Plus, these Lupini beans require like a soaking process. It is like a slow food. It's a slow food made ready to eat. So it's a very unique supply chain, and it took us like 3 years really to nail it.
To figure that out.
Yeah. So it's one of the biggest pieces of advice I have to people is like really figure everything out first before going too far into retail.
Instead of just being naive and figuring it out as you go.
You can do it. You learn the hard way.
Yeah. What's some of the lessons that you learned early on in that process? Because it's hard. I mean, it's like, obviously we were talking about this earlier, but it's there's moments of like it's the impossible mountain for a while.
It's very hard, and especially if you're doing something that's so out of left field, that made it extra hard. But I mean, the biggest piece of advice, and obviously, this is high level, then you have to get into the details, is just making sure you get all the building blocks right. Like your supply chain is flexible enough for the early stage, but able to scale with you.
That's a big one. Yeah.
That, your margins are sound, that you know how to calculate margins, what channels to get into and why.
Yeah.
I highly recommend testing products before going to retail.
You mean into the market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I would start on DTC, even if you don't want to be a DTC brand.
Totally.
Just to understand the consumers better, get the, perfect the product, perfect the messaging, just try to understand everything and lock everything up before going to retail. And then when you go to retail, have a very focused strategy out of the gate.
I'm always surprised when the founders stop doing tastings, because to me, it's like that's the biggest feedback loop you're going to get. It's amazing. And yeah, you might not like it, but it allows you to pivot pretty quickly.
No, I know. We had that right away because in Italy, traditionally, you pop the bean out of its shell.
Out of its shell, okay.
So each bean has its own shell. It's almost like if an edamame just had an individual little shell.
Yeah.
And in Italy, you pop it out like a sunflower seed. Because in Italy, they don't do this extra pickling, flavoring step that we do, the shell is very thick and not very flavorful.
Okay.
And the kernel is very umami. And so I thought, in addition to explaining what this is and dealing with all the things that we had to deal with, I was going to have to teach people how to pop it too, which is obviously not ideal, especially on a pack.
Sure.
But what I discovered right away in my first tasting was people were just eating it with the shell because we give it this extra pickling step. It's flavorful and it breaks down the fiber, and it's actually really good for you. A lot of the fiber is in the shell.
Wow.
And so we discovered people liked it just as much or more with the shell, and that was like a critical early learning.
Interesting. When did you know you were onto something? Like, when did you know you had either the velocities in place or critical mass in terms of orders? What was that moment? So it's 2014. What was that moment? What year was that?
Well, 2016 was Expo West and getting into those retailers, and that was the first moment of like, both the response from a lot of consumers and the retailers. We knew there was something, but in retrospect, there was still so much to figure out. Eventually, Whole Foods moved us from functional snacking to the canned bean or pouched bean, ready to eat bean pouch aisle. And that was a huge unlock. Like our velocities jumped 40% just there.
Wow.
And we discovered as we were going, again, you don't learn until you sort of get it out there and have people consuming it, that people were using it as a salad topper or in bowls and stir fries just as much as a snack. So like our average consumer would like snack on half the pack and then use the other half for a salad.
That's awesome. Wow.
And so it made sense for us to go into pantry, but out of the gate, functional snacking is like so much cooler than the canned bean aisle.
Absolutely.
And you have to do what's right, but sometimes you don't know until you do it.
So it kind of worked out in that way, and then the use cases were a little bit different than you would have originally thought. That's fascinating. Yeah. And then did you fund at that time? Or are you raising capital at that time?
So we did like the pre-seed with the fund that I was working at and an angel, the head of Westside Market that I actually grew up next to in New York, which was pretty cool.
That's cool.
And then we did a Series A like right after in 2016 as we got all that initial traction.
And so obviously there's a pasta in front of us, but at what point do you...
Series Seed.
Yeah. At what point do you see or realize the need to go into something else? Or was that always the plan? Were you always...
The plan was, in retrospect, I wouldn't have done it this way, but the plan was let me introduce America to this snack that is arguably the most ancient snack known to humankind, certainly to the European area, in its quasi-original form, just with like an innovation in the delivery of shelf-stable, ready-to-eat different flavors. Let me introduce America to it that way and then build product lines using the nutritional power of Lupini beans from there. In retrospect, it was such a hard thing to do. It really slowed us down to being able to leverage the Lupini bean in other ways. Yeah. So I always it was always the plan to get there. It took longer than I would have wanted.
As it does, yeah.
And then, along the way, we came back to my original reason for getting into this at all, which was to make, Italian food that is equally delicious and wholesome. And so we refreshed the brand around that idea while also deciding what we wanted to do next with the bean. And pasta was an obvious place to look, but we saw this like big hole in the market, which is that better for you pasta was driving the growth of pasta, but the satisfaction levels in terms of taste, texture, and value were very low.
There's a trade-off people are making.
Yeah,
that's
major
true.
Trade-off.
That's very true.
And often the trade-off was wrapped up in gluten-free. Mm-hmm. But, I know that, anecdotally, people who eat pasta in Italy who are gluten intolerant here eat pasta in Italy and they're fine.
Yeah.
And then when we actually looked at the consumer data, like gluten-free was actually very low down in the general pasta consumer order of priorities. And so, knowing how much better an authentic Italian durum wheat pasta is than a conventional pasta on the one hand, and then how macronutrient dense lupini beans are and umami in flavor and yellow in color, I had the idea of like simply adding whole milled lupini beans to an authentic Italian durum wheat pasta and achieving the macronutrient benefits, so 70% more protein, 3 times more fiber. It actually has slightly more fiber than whole wheat pasta and 25% fewer net carbs without sacrificing on taste, texture, and value nearly as much. And actually, arguably, I think it tastes kind of like an egg pasta and
oh, wow.
That's arguably better than regular pasta.
That's amazing. Okay, so at this time, though, you kind of have a cheat code, although you may have not done it the way you wanted to, but now you can talk to your buyers or the stores, and you can sort of get an inside track on what are you guys seeing, the better for you category, that's new, great. Is it working? What do people not like? And so you can also refine a product based on a very legitimate series of data, right? That your buyers have. And so did they work with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of the data work and the insights that led to us like really honing in on this was done on our side.
Sure.
And that was the big difference of, launching the pasta versus the beans is we did all that groundwork.
Yeah.
But then we certainly partnered with Whole Foods on messaging and the packaging.
Smart.
And positioning. And that was helpful.
That's really smart.
But the buyers were well aware of this of this issue in the market. Actually, pasta sales until COVID had stagnated because people were so trained to feel guilty eating it, and that's why the growth was coming from better for you.
Yeah.
But there was bound to be sort of a limit to that growth because of how strong the trade-offs were. Yeah. And so the buyers were well aware of this need.
I remember I was doing I would do like half a box or half of whatever serving of chickpea pasta with half of the regular pasta. Oh, okay. Just to give myself some taste. How long did it take you to nail the taste?
It was a relatively easy process to hone in. I did it on the bench first. Like I knew roughly like how much lupini bean you could use before it started impacting taste and texture. So it was really just honing in the exact amount.
Okay.
And obviously bench is different than production and even different production lines. You have to make adjustments.
Yeah.
It's not like some scientific like lab engineered product. It is very simple, but what is unique about it is that we meet all the highest standards of like a top shelf Italian pasta. And so that is a very intensive process. It's actually incredible that I discovered doing this, that you really can't make at scale, you can't make a top shelf Italian pasta in America.
Because you're sacrificing something.
There's just too many inputs that matter that like don't exist here in the supply chain.
Interesting.
So what's unique here is just bringing the nutritional value of the lupini bean into the pasta in a way that doesn't sacrifice on all those standards, where it's still achieving all of those highest standards
Okay.
of an Italian pasta.
Yeah.
And it is literally like you're eating pasta in Italy. So that feeling that you have of like, I'm fine when I eat pasta in Italy, you can live that every day in your house, but with more protein, more fiber than a whole wheat pasta.
That's amazing.
And fewer carbs. But I honestly think if you told a group of friends that you got this premium imported Italian pasta and didn't tell them it was a better for you pasta, I don't think they would notice.
That's amazing.
Or if you told them it was like an egg pasta.
What does Brami mean?
Brami is the second person conjugation of bramare, which is like this ancient verb that means like to passionately desire, long for. And so io bramo, I long for,
sure.
Tu brami, you long for.
I love that.
And originally we were trying to think of something that like was sort of Mediterranean diet inspiring, and it just wasn't working. And so finally I was like, you know what? Screw that. I'm addicted to these beans. Like I crave them. And we discovered this. And actually I realized recently that the verb is in Under the Tuscan Sun, the movie. There's Bramasole is the name of the house that she renovates.
Bramasole.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I'm getting the name of the movie right. I just watched it on a plane and was blown away. Bramasole was the name of the house, which would mean like to long for the sun.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That's amazing.
It has this like sort of deep, yearning, ancient, romantic aspect to it. Yeah.
I love that. So did it quickly become the hero product? Or at what point did things shift?
Last year was 50-50, and this year it's like very clearly the hero product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so how do you think about the thing that got you to the dance? How do you think about you'll keep it going?
I think it could only help. America still doesn't know the Lupini bean very well, despite its incredible benefit. And so my hope is the pasta it just helps educate in a way that would bring more consumers to the beans.
Yeah.
Because the beans still have this unbelievable use case. I was telling you before, for afternoon hunger, protein and fiber are what satisfy hunger. Calories, carbs, fat, sugar, obviously, are the things that you want to limit between meals.
Yeah.
All else equal. There's nothing in the grocery store that I've seen that comes close in terms of protein and fiber per calorie, carb, fat, sugar than Lupini beans.
Okay.
So for people who like pickled Mediterranean kind of stuff, it fills this incredible need. So I still see huge potential there. It's just a much harder product to educate on. With the pasta, you almost don't need the education because
that's right.
It's real whole ingredients. And there's no other pasta good source of protein, high fiber pasta in the market that uses 2 real whole ingredients. So even if you don't know what a Lupini bean is, you know that it's a real ingredient.
Is the tough part for you then on marketing this? So the pasta I get, that's easy. People are already at the store. They're going to make their decision based on whatever it might be, but they're already there. With the bean, how do you view the marketing or even the brand? Like, how do you choose what to market?
The beans definitely, they require, I think, influencer, not necessarily at the macro level, but sort of at all levels of people that people trust talking about, their experience with it and what it's done for them and why it's been a revelation to them. It is like a love-hate product. Like some people just like don't like pickled.
Because it's,
or just the idea of snacking on something that isn't dry and crunchy is just like too strange to them. And then there's people that are like, oh my God, where has this been my whole life? Like this is a game changer for me.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me going there. And I know there's more people out there. So it's just getting people to talk about it more and more.
Sure.
Hopefully the pasta helps. On the pasta side, there is education too, though, because again, people still have this negative connotation with pasta, or certainly they only have positive associations with pasta in Italy. So now I have to get them to think like, hey, you can live that every day in your home in a really easy way.
Yeah.
And also just like how like easy and nutritious a meal it is versus pasta is normally thought of as like the starch that then you put healthy stuff on top of. Whereas this is already healthy, and then anything you add just makes it even more healthy. And you can really just make like a really easy one pot complete meal in one with this. And because you're not trading off on taste and texture, like why even go back to regular pasta? And sort of teaching people to think of this as like their everyday go-to like transport yourself to Italy and live la dolce vita. That's the education on that side.
It's working on me, that's for sure. I'm excited to do all of it. At what point do you like think about expansion? So you're here, your pasta, you got the bean, things are working. At what point are you thinking like, what else is 8-year-old you want to bring to America? Like what else is there, if anything, or is it just doubling down on the diamonds you have?
No, I mean, I definitely, I learned a lot in this time, and certainly you don't want to spread yourself too thin.
Totally.
And there's still so much to do here. But at the same time, like, I'm again, like I said at the beginning, my dream is to allow people to feel like I did growing up in Italy on an everyday basis. And so there's definitely more things that I want to bring to market that will sort of push the envelope in terms of, functional Italian, but that's authentic and true to the Italian heritage. And so I do have dreams of doing other things, but I'm also realistic in what's ahead.
And what stores are you in now? Are you in Whole Foods nationwide? Where can people find you?
Yeah, both product lines are in Whole Foods nationwide. As of February, they should be in every store. Both product lines should be in every store.
That's amazing.
In July, we should have a global off-shelf for both product lines. So hopefully...
Global, wow.
They call it global. It's national. So hopefully you'll see it at an end cap in any Whole Foods at the beginning of
That's amazing.
July.
And what are the price points for people listening?
So that's our snack pack, which is only sold on Amazon.
Okay.
It's really good, by the way, if your kids like salty pickled stuff. Like I put that in my son's lunchbox every day. But that's on Amazon. We sell the bigger multi-serve pack at Whole Foods for $4.99.
Okay. Reasonable.
It's five of those essentially.
Wow.
Yeah, like 5 snack packs worth. And then the pasta is $3.99 at Whole Foods. And then the pasta
seems very reasonable.
It is super reasonable.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that extra like $1 maybe that you're spending for the extra nutrition is actually way cheaper than what you would spend trying to replace that protein with chicken or meat or whatever it is.
Yeah. How do you think the American consumer will evolve? So based on the data that you have, and you've been in the business for 10 years, a little over 10 years now, what are you seeing as like the next thing, right? So first it was like keto, then it was like no carb. Now it's all protein. Everything's protein now. At some point I'm just thinking like when we'll just process, I don't know. Like what do you view the future of the American diet to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the challenging things about CPG because I actually don't consider this a protein pasta.
Yeah.
Like we call it protein pasta because we need to communicate effectively that this is more than just a regular pasta.
Right.
And protein is of the things of the additional nutrition, protein is the number one thing people respond to.
Yeah.
And it was actually we originally launched it without calling it protein pasta because I just view this as a better for you pasta, but that you should just think of as your everyday pasta now.
Sure.
But it was causing confusion because people were like, well, wait, is this a regular pasta? Is this not a regular pasta? And those things are so hard. So calling it protein pasta was like a big unlock for us, and it actually streamlined the communication, and it, limited the confusion. But ultimately, I want people just getting more nutrition from good quality whole ingredients. Like that's what it's all about for me.
What was the hardest of your journey, the last 11 years of your journey? What was the moment that you were like, I don't think I can get through this?
Oh, man.
Because there's a lot of them, right?
I've had quite a few.
We all have like the payroll story, but like what's the one that you're like, Jesus, this is it?
I mean, I had 2 really early on. Like right after I got into those regions of Whole Foods, I went back to my first plant in Philadelphia, and which I was driving back and forth to like every other day from New York, like killing myself. Like I was there for all the production runs on the line. And immediately it became clear like they couldn't take that next step of scaling with me. So that was pretty stressful. And what's required to make the Lupini beans is just so specialized. There's really only 2 plants in all of America who could like maybe do it. So I immediately scrambled to the other one. But it was better than the first one, but it was still like fitting a square peg in a round hole. And, the Italians are set up to process Lupini, but they weren't set up to do shelf-stable pouch flavor. But so it sort of took me that those 2 steps to then get to the third step of getting that aspect into the Italian supply chain.
Yeah.
And so each one of those steps was like a major ordeal. Like realizing that all the work I put into getting the first one up and running wasn't going to work out, and then reinvesting all of that time in the second one, and then realizing after that in a similar way that it wasn't going to work.
Jeez.
And then having to do it again the third time in Italy.
And then it all made sense.
And then COVID hit soon after that. And, you know, on the e-commerce side, it was good, but on the retail side, it was actually bad for us because there was a lot of SKU rationalization that happened. That was another one of those moments where I couldn't believe it because I was, you know, Italy was the epicenter of the pandemic in Europe, and New York was the epicenter in America, and I was importing from Italy into New York. And so that was another like scary moment.
Does it ever get easier? Yeah.
I know. I do sometimes feel like you can't just like win. Like you have to keep having the battles.
Yeah. They'll never go away. And you're launching with Costco soon? This year?
Yeah. So this is you're the first person outside of the company to see
I love it.
Both our latest brand refresh and our Costco box, which will be in 5 regions in the fall. So the Northeast and Texas in September, and then Midwest, San Diego, and Pacific Northwest in October.
That's huge.
And it has our 2 top SKUs, fusilli and curly macaroni. Fusilli is my personal favorite. It's just so authentic. It's got like this meatiness to it that I love. I'm just like totally hooked personally. And then the curly mac is a great mac and cheese pasta, super versatile. It's actually our top seller.
And will you do, I assume you'll do a bunch of tastings while you're in the Costco to get the thing off the shelf and flying. Yeah,
absolutely. Of course, having somebody cook pasta there on the floor is not as easy as like cutting up a bar or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need people trying it. Like we need people having that aha moment of like, I can have my nutrition and eat it too, and like it can be like elevated.
You've said bar a few times. Is there a Lupini bar coming? Is there such a world where that could exist?
There was a Lupini bar company called Lupi. Unfortunately, they closed. It was pretty cool.
That is cool.
No, I don't think bars are on the cards for us.
What else is next for this year? You have Costco that you're launching. What's on the agenda for Q4?
Target is going national in October.
Oh, you're there. You're scaling. You're going.
Yeah, and we're national with Walmart on the pasta.
Okay.
We're in half of their stores roughly nationwide with fusilli and spaghetti, and then they're just putting on the other SKUs onto Walmart.com, so you'll be able to buy it nationally there. But we're also in Thrive Market and Hungry Root, which obviously are national. And very, very focused on the pasta right now, both from a distribution point of view, but also from, you know, telling the story, education.
I think half of Walmart's revenue comes from food, grocery.
Yeah, and I mean, since the pandemic,
cool.
They've really become a go-to for even natural products that you wouldn't normally associate.
Yeah, this is the issue Target's having now, because Target is like 80% of the revenue comes from retail. And so they're thinking, like, how do they essentially, like, downturn-proof themselves? And everyone needs food. So Walmart's done that. Yeah. Which is an interesting thing how that's changed in the market. Anyway.
And interestingly, Walmart was the first retailer that I'm aware of that actually created a protein pasta sort of area.
Wow.
Before, it was just, like, Barilla Protein Plus was in Barilla area or conventional area, and then chickpea pasta was somewhere else. And they were the first to, like, put them all together, which I think was really smart.
Interesting.
Because protein pasta, especially wheat-based protein pasta, is what's driving the pasta category right now.
Oh, no way. When you think about the exit, do you think you go public, or do you think, like, what? I
would love to.
That would be your dream.
That would be the dream.
Okay.
I think it's very rare in this industry.
Yeah.
But I like to have it as the dream, and then, you know, I'll be realistic along the way.
And do you move to Italy? Does 8-year-old you solve the problem? You're like, I did it.
I should live in Italy right now just on the manufacturing side. I've been to Italy 4 times in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, you're so lucky. I'm like, no. I'm like there for work, like traveling from California. It's like in a small town. I live in a small town. It's like a 22-hour journey, 9 hour of jet lag. It's too much. I should live there. But I have 2 kids who are in school in San Diego, and so it's not realistic. But hopefully, be able to spend more time there. I definitely want to just like keep living that quality of life as much as I can.
Totally.
Which can be hard in the startup world.
That's true.
But no, I'm really just enjoying this moment. We did it with the beans, but it was. There was so much friction in so many areas that I wasn't able to fully appreciate it. Whereas now, like I really see like how we're changing people's lives, allowing them to sort of live the quality Italian lifestyle in their everyday and the little joy that brings them, but to more and more people and in more and more days of the week. And that's just super exciting to me.
Well, we're a Brami house, so thank you. Thanks for coming on the pod. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, share with your friends, your family, or anyone you might think might benefit from the conversation we've had today. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. We'd greatly appreciate it. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more people who can benefit from our discussions. The best way to stay connected with us and get the latest updates on future episodes is through our social media channels. You can find us at Startup Storefront. We'll be back next Tuesday with another great episode. See you then.